Hey guys, wanted to come on here on the 22nd of November 2021. 3 days, 3.5 days away from Turkey Day, if you will. And I wanted to come on and talk about what's been going on lately. And I will tell you that today so far has been kind of busy and interesting, if not beneficial financially. What I mean by that is, in case you guys have heard by now, and I'm sure you have, here in California and in other states, the governments have decided to give out their own stimulus to help recover from the pandemic. And our governor, despite all the controversy he's gone through over the past year or so, and basically the closeness he had to being recalled, if you will, our governor decided to sign into law the Golden State Stimulus law package, and he did it into maybe three parts. The first part, my second older sister and her family got something out of it, and we didn't. The second part, recently got started back in late August, and just like the first stimulus, first Golden State stimulus, basically, they went into rounds. About 2, maybe 3 rounds. And because of that, there was still more checks to release, because the state was not just business wise, but individual citizen wise, was still recovering from this pandemic. So one way to get us recovered is to do multiple releases of stimuluses to people in different ways. Like the first stimulus, mostly anybody that was with family and stuff, they got that. And now the second one is not just to continue that for the families, but also fill the void for those also who were affected by this pandemic financially. And basically, long story short, like I said, it all started, the second round, or the second stimulus package, called GSS2, Golden State Stimulus 2, was sent out, like I said, at the end of August into the beginning of September and through October. And as I mentioned, just like with the first stimulus package, it was separated into rounds. So different, different rounds, different delivery methods, if you will. And me and my mom thought, well, we have direct deposit, because one of the things they say you have to do is make sure you filed your taxes and everything. So me and my mom, we already did that earlier in the year. So we figured, okay, they know that we have direct deposit, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Wrong. Because apparently, it seems that with the Golden State Stimulus, both 1 and 2, it seems that depending on the amount you get, because you can get between maybe 100 to 1,100 at most. The average, middle ground is 600 and 1,100, if you will. So depending on the amount, you were either going to have it directly deposited, most likely, or it was going to get mailed to you. Now, like I said, me and my mom, we have direct deposit, so our thought process was, okay, we're probably going to get the 600. We should have that directly deposited as soon as possible. Like when they announced that 2 days before Halloween, the second round of stimulus funds was going to be released directly and mail-wise, we figured, okay, it's going to go into our accounts directly very soon, right? Nope. Every day I kept checking. My mom would call me up, ask me if it went in. I would say no. She would even ask me on the weekends she was off. I would say no. And we kept being curious as to, what exactly is going on here? What is happening, right? Is this a joke? Is there any truth to it? Did they make a mistake? What's going on? Well, apparently, and this is something you can look up online, apparently, according to one of the more recent articles by the Sacramento Bee, because a lot of people had the same questions, and even the Sacramento Bee had some questions about it too, it seemed that according to a spokesperson recently, because I'm sure they were getting bombarded with questions, phone calls and all that, emails and stuff, according to one of the spokespeople behind the GSS stimulus packages 1 and 2, basically from what they said, is if you have direct deposit and you haven't gotten anything directly deposited into your account as of that moment, which was like this past week or so, when they did this article and interview, that more than likely you will get a check mailed to you. Now, let me ask you this. What sense does that make if you have direct deposit and yet you're going to have it mailed to you? What sense does that make? What sense? It doesn't make sense, right? Because if you have direct deposit, it should have already been in there, or at least on the verge of it. But it wasn't. And, you wonder what happened. What was the, what caused this to occur? In my opinion is this. You see, the 1100 is mostly for the families, like with kids and all that, right? So, here's what I think happened. The 1100, those that qualified for the 1100 as families, or those individually that qualified for, a bigger amount on their own, depending on their income, or whatever they, got back tax-wise, or whatever, or they owed, or whatever the case could be. That my opinion is the higher the amount that was given to that individual, the more likely that amount got directly deposited, and the lesser the amount given to an individual was mailed. So my opinion is this, that the 1100 that went to the families and all that, and some of the higher amounts that went to people individually, like maybe, the 1000s, the 900s, or something like that, those all got directly deposited. The 900s to 1100s got directly deposited because they're higher amounts. But the amounts between maybe 100 to 800 probably got mailed out. Like I'll put it this way, some 600 to 1100 probably got directly deposited, but more than likely a majority of the other amounts sent out from the 100s to the, like I said, more than likely the 800s, maybe 700s at most, those got mailed out. Even if you have direct deposit, those got mailed out. Well, the higher amounts, the 900 to 1100s, or even the 800 to 1100s, got directly deposited into accounts. That's what I think happened. Like basically, the lesser amount, the less chance, something could happen. Thus, they're mailing that out even to those that may have direct deposit. The higher amount, that automatically goes in because of safety precautions, in my opinion. Safety precautions, security precautions, stuff like that. So that's what I think happened. I think, honestly, despite the fact that a lot of us have direct deposit, and I'm sure a majority of people here in the States, here in California and other states that are doing this, have direct deposit for checks and all that, that, despite us having that direct deposit, option, that if we're getting a small amount check from the state, from the government, a la stimulus, to kind of help get us all back on our feet, that I think what happened as a decision, as a precautionary method, was that the higher amounts, would go to direct deposits automatically for that safety and security reasons, while the lesser amounts, like 600 or so, like 600, 700, 500, stuff like that, would get mailed, because there's a less of a chance that from a security standpoint, from a security safety standpoint, that anybody would even attempt to mess with those, because it's not the big amount. It's not that 1100 amount, if you catch my drift. So basically, that's just my opinion. I mean, getting the checks today is a blessing. Thank the Lord on that. But the fact that, people like me and my mom who have direct deposits, people like my niece who have direct deposits, the fact that they're giving us, they're giving us our money, or the money they want to give to us to get us back on our feet, and also to see Newsom in a better light, I guess. The fact that they're going to give it to us via mailed check instead of directly deposit, again, like I said, shows two things. One, that they prioritize the higher amounts as the main, worry, the main worry when it comes to thefts and all that, but they prioritize the main higher amounts of the 1100s and all that as a main priority that has to get out there right away, boom, 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 because of families. But that the lesser amounts, the ones in the 600s, 700s, 500s and all that, are not that big of a priority and less of a chance to be, trifled with by any outside interference. And that's just my opinion. But it also proves one other thing. And that other thing is that this state, along with some other states, needs to get their butts back in gear. Because again, I'm grateful for getting something, in any way, shape, or form, to catch my drift. But, if you have it on record that most of the people that live in your state have direct deposit for their accounts, then don't you think it would have been easier just to directly put it in to the accounts right away, or within the weeks afterwards, instead of just saying, hey, we're going to mail it? Because that shows one thing. That shows one major thing, I should say. And what that shows is that there's a lot of, as the old saying goes, too many cooks in the kitchen all at once. You got to have one or two cooks, and that's it. Because if you have multitude of them, things get screwed up. Things get mixed up. If you have one or two, at least things are, maybe even three, things are less likely to get screwed up, because then with those one or three cooks in the kitchen, they'll be like, okay, let's look who has direct deposit, let's look who doesn't, and end of story. End of story. But yeah, apparently, like I said earlier, people that were wondering why they hadn't gotten their direct deposits yet, the answer is real simple. They were having it mailed to them because possibly, like I said, the amounts they were getting were a lot less higher than what was a main priority amount for the families and all that, because, which is like the 1100 and things that got directly deposited in. And I think what clued my mom in on the fact that this would be obviously what was going to happen, despite her trying to be like against it, like saying, "Oh, it wasn't going to happen," was when one of her fellow workers got a check for $141, and she had a mail check, a paper check, and she, has direct deposit. Her friend. So I think that's what clued her in. Like, okay, something is not right here. Something is like, cuckoo, And again, it just, to me, just shows that this state, and I'm sure other states is very similar in what's going on, have to get their act together. And 2022 is the year they need to get it back all together and realize that, hey, if we're going to do something similar like this in the future, maybe not because of pandemics or anything, but to kind of be generous and all that, that maybe they need to get all the multitude of cooks out of the kitchen and only have 1, 2, maybe 3 in there at most. And that's it. That is it. But, yeah, it's been an interesting day. I will say that. It's been an interesting day. As far as this past weekend, not really much going on. We went to church and everything, and then my mom dropped me off at home and went back to Patterson to visit my sister and then my niece and my great niece and her fiance, because they came over. And then, like I said, on Saturday, the day before that, or the day before yesterday, again, not really much going on, if you will, just relaxing and everything. And yeah, that's about it. I did get some good news in a sense as far as what potentially is up the road. And what I mean by that is it seems Tuesdays, unless things change, Tuesdays may be more open to me, over time. Now, again, like I said, unless things change, I'm going to have more time to myself on Tuesdays because my mom seems to be going back to Bible study. And what I mean by that is she's been wanting to go back, but because she's been tired, because she works and everything, she hasn't been really in the mood. But, at the encouragement of our pastor, she went recently and they were glad to see her. So now she's going to try to go back. And it makes sense since, she's coming from Livermore, going into Patterson, that, she could just stop at a Starbucks or something like that, get something to drink to wake her up, and then go to the Bible study where, one of our Filipino friends from church likes to bring food to treat to everybody while they're there. So, yeah, it seems like basically, like I said, I might be having Tuesdays back to myself for a while, which means that when my mom leaves, which is like around 6:35, basically around 6:45 in the morning, that I'll have the house up until maybe 9:30. Almost basically 14 and a half hours. Now, again, things might change because it seems that my niece's fiance is going to try to get the number to one of the managers at the Save Mart in Patterson to let them know, hey, this guy had an interview recently. He's interested. He wants to work. Try to get a good word in for me to get into the store. So, we'll see what happens. So, we'll see what happens and everything. But overall, like I said, not really much besides that to add as a possible major change happening. And again, what that does for me on Tuesdays is if I decide to start doing videos almost, I wouldn't say automatically when I get up, a little afterwards, then I'm good. I'm good to go. I can crank out several videos and live streams if I have to. Now, like I said, besides that, as I mentioned, not really much happened on the weekend. Well, I wouldn't say much happened on the weekend, or at least on Saturday. Like I said, the day before yesterday, not really much occurred. I have to kind of correct that because even though not much really did happen, things did kind of get a little convoluted. You see, my mom basically had to recheck everything, like insurance-wise, health insurance, dental insurance, stuff like that her job provides for free. Basically it's something she pays into, it's something basically she pays into at her job. So it could be free to her whenever she needs it, like dental, eyes, physical, stuff like that. So basically what happened is she and her fellow teachers were given an email to basically check, to recheck their choices to see whether or not they wanted to keep them or change them, and basically what happened is when I turned on my mom's laptop, if you will, as I go back in here, when I turned on my mom's laptop, hold on for a sec. Hold on. Well, like I said, when I turned on my mom's laptop yesterday to help her out, here we go. But like I said, when I turned on my mom's laptop, which is right here, and it's one of the older ones I got her. I got it around the same time I got mine, which is the same kind of laptop. It's a Streambook. It's one of those Streambooks, if you will, with the EMC kind of flash drive on it. Well, when I turned that on and, put the password in and everything to get it to load and allowed it time to load up, do its thing, I go to Google, right? Because that's the browser she uses for hers and it's one I use on mine. So I go to Google and it looks like it's taking time to load. It's like something got stuck, right? It's like something got stuck. And then all of a sudden when I go to try to fix it or click on it or something, it goes to a blank it goes to a blank screen. And I'm like, oh no, what just happened, right? And apparently what happened is it crashed. It didn't go back to the screensaver or anything like that. It just crashed. So I went and I did the hard reset that they tell you to do. Like I press down on the power button, thus turning it off, doing a hard reset. And then I waited a few moments, turned it back on, put in the password, and it seemed like everything just resumed right there, like nothing got lost. And we were able to go from there, thank the Lord. But yeah, apparently her laptop decided to take a poop on her and crash just as she's getting ready to wanting to, basically submit her decision to, keep all her insurance, to keep all the decisions that she made for her overall insurance, health insurance that she has at her job. Yeah, it decided to take a poop. It basically went to something like this. It's, well, not necessarily like this, but you could still like see a little bit of that it was on. Like it was a light dark. It was very light dark, if I could put it that way. And so, like I said, I had to hard set it. I had to go to the power button, if you will. I had to basically, let me move this for a second. I had to go to this right here, like I said, and do the hard reset. Don't worry, nothing will happen on that. That's good. We just fix that for a second. But like I said, I had to go to the hard reset on it, and like I say, turn. I basically had to do a hard power off, if you will. Like you hold down the power button and it turns off. Sorry about that. But I had to do a hard power off on it. Basically, well, like I said, just a hard reset. I had to turn it off. Press the power button, wait for it to turn off, give it a few moments, and then turn it back on by the hard reset to reboot it. And thankfully, nothing got lost. But it definitely got my mom thinking, maybe it's time to look into something newer down the line. And she probably will, but, right now it's doing fine for her. I think what it is that with Windows doing so many updates, if you will, over the past several years since that kind of stream book came out, because that's what it is, it's a stream book, that, it seems that they're forgetting the fact that there's a lot of people that have laptops, computers, and PCs that are still running well, but they're not, capable of certain updates, like let's say the Windows 11. I mean, my computer tells me anytime I go to the Windows Update settings to see what's going on, to see whether or not that the reason it's loading at times and seemingly, causing us to slow down, or basically causing me to wait, if you will, to load another page or something like that, is, possibly it's doing an update. So what I do is I go to the Windows Update settings to see whether or not an update is occurring, or I go to the virus protection settings to see if maybe they just did a virus scan. And either one of those comes up as, positive, basically the answer, somewhat. But when I go lately to the Windows Update settings, it will say in a message as I scroll down, or you can see it right off the bat, that your PC is not compatible to update to Windows 11. And it's stuff like that I think is, making those people at Microsoft forget that people have laptops and computers and stream books and PCs and all that, as I mentioned, work fine, and they don't need. They work fine even if they're not capable of upgrading to Windows 11. They work fine. You don't have to worry about it. So what they're doing by forgetting that and focusing on this whole Windows 11 deal is they're leaving these kind of laptop stream books, if you will, in the dust, and they can't do that. They need to keep their focus on all versions of the products that have Windows, Microsoft Windows installed in them. That's what they need to do. Now, my computer almost did the same thing this morning, but thankfully it was just, very temporarily, because all of a sudden I clicked on something and it went blank screen. I'm thinking, oh no, here we go again. The silver lining, though, it still had the taskbar on the bottom. But like I said, I was like, oh no, here we go again. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. It was just a temporary deal because it was still loading and everything, and it just loaded back up and everything was fine. But yeah, Microsoft, Microsoft, they need to get their act together, and the Windows team overall, needs to keep focus on all brands and devices that have the Windows 10 feature on it, and not leave it in the dust to focus on 11. That's what I'm trying to say. But besides, that little hiccup on Saturday with the computer, like I said, we were able to get it back up and running and get things done, and we were fine. So overall, not really much going on. This past Saturday, like I said yesterday, we went to church, got dropped off. She went back over there to my sister's, and then today, of course, got the checks that supposedly should have been deposited directly, but weren't. And basically, like I said, I'm glad to get it when I did. The only issue I had with this check when I got it is that I was using my phone to do a mobile deposit, and it was like, the option on my bank's app wasn't working. Well, it seemingly wasn't working. It kept telling me, get closer, use a darker background, do this, do that. And finally, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this like that, because finally it said basically hold it, right above it, zoom in a little, or get a little closer. And finally, when I did that, that's when it worked. But I got so frustrated, if you will, that when I went to the store, because I was going to go to the store anyway to get some more soda, as well as get some additional items like some more eggnog, and like some more eggnog in the background. There's a creamer and these two little things here, as well as some top ramen. Basically, I also decided to go there because they have an ATM from my bank. They have an ATM set in there, courtesy of my bank. Unfortunately, I go there and they're doing maintenance on it. So I'm thinking, great, now what do I do? So I come back home, try it once again, and thank the Lord, I'm able to finally get it done. I'm finally able to mobily deposit the check. But I'm thinking to myself, oh my Lord, it was like, why couldn't my bank's app tell me right off the bat, hey, hold it straight up and everything? It was just weird and unnecessary. When you have the check, when you're doing a mobile deposit and you have the check right there, you shouldn't have to worry of whether or not it's going to be straight, as long as you get the numbers and everything in there. That should be all that matters. And even when you're doing it from the back, it should be all that matters. You shouldn't have to worry about lining it up straightly. As long as you get the numbers and everything in there, it should be fine. But again, I'm not gonna complain that much, because at least they got it in there. That's all I'm happy about. And it's good timing too. I'll put it that way. But overall, like I said, not much. Overall, besides today and yesterday and a little bit of what happened on Saturday, it's been a good weekend so far leading into Thanksgiving. And like I said, the only silver lining, I think I said this, the silver lining that I found out is it started this past Tuesday, but it's going to continue because they're taking a break for Thanksgiving. But it's going to resume around the 8th, not the 1st, but around I think it's the 7th. I think it's the 7th, not the 8th. Is it? Let me look. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's the 8th. Go figure. Yeah, it's the 8th. But yeah, starting on the 8th, basically, they're going to go back to doing Bible study. And like I said, because my mom went to the Bible study because she was asked, she was, encouraged by our pastor to go and, back and try it again. That she finally realizes, wait a minute, I'm going from Livermore to Patterson because Patterson's one of the areas, one of the towns she has to drive through to get home. She's probably, she basically realized, hey, yeah, I can do that on Tuesdays. So it looks like, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have Tuesdays, unless things change, I'm going to have Tuesdays to myself for at least 14 and a half hours, depending. Unless things change, unless, she decides she's too tired to go and she comes home, or I end up working. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to do this vlog, let you guys know what's been going on, and let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below, live chat during the premiere. Check out the Teespring store. Also, check me out at BW Rose's discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also, check me out on BW Roses on VENMO for content you can't get anywhere here on YouTube if they're not allowed to be on here on YouTube. You can find it there. Also, check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses and on Venmo if you want to help donate there as well. So until next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later.